Hey Wansee, I'm so glad that I finally get to write to you. I've been wanting my story to be told on your channel for a while, but here's my story. My name's Lynn, and I've been dealing with some weird stuff lately, and I think I'm being haunted by something. It started last year when my friend came over for a sleepover, and she'd gotten these ghost hunting apps on her phone, and of course I didn't believe them, but I went along with it because it was something fun to do. After a while of messing with the apps, we got a lot of stereotypical responses that were most likely programmed into the apps. We eventually got bored and went to do something else. After a while, it was time to go to bed, and we slept in the living room. After being asleep for a bit, I woke up to my friend getting up and heading to the restroom, thinking nothing of it. I sat there, trying to go back to sleep. When she came back, we talked for a bit. Here's where it gets weird. But 5 minutes later, I heard the bathroom faucet turn on full blast. Keep in mind that I live in a small house with thin walls, so everything echoes and it can be clearly heard. So I got up, thinking I was imagining it. But when I got to the bathroom, I was indeed correct on what I had heard. Weirded out, I came back to my friend and asked if she had left the faucet on. She responded no, and said that she for sure remembered turning it off. Confused, I knew it wasn't my sister or my parents because, for one, my parents have their own bathroom connected to their room and only use that one, and second of all, I knew it wasn't my sister because I would have heard the creaking of the floorboards and the distinct walking. After a while, my friend and I just shrugged it off, thinking we could think about it more in the morning. Morning came, and my friend had woken me up. We talked about the faucet, and after a while, she told me with a nervous look on her face,
"Last night, I woke up around 4 a.m. to a weird feeling, like someone else besides you had entered the room. And when I looked around, I saw a shadowy figure looking at you, standing right in front of you. I was too scared to wake you up, so I hid under my blankets. And when I checked again, it was gone, and I've been awake since then."
Terrified, I tried to debunk it any way I could, but she was adamant on what she saw. When my parents woke up, we told them what we saw, but of course they didn't believe us. Ever since then, I've heard weird things, like my sister whispering, calling my name at night, and when I check, no one's there. And I've seen orbs and figures of white or black dash around my room and into the walls. And finally, I felt my bed compress while I'm laying down on my side, like someone sat down right beside me on the edge of my bed. I want to tell my family, but I know they won't believe me. And I'm really not sure what to do. I'm scared that it will all escalate to be more violent. To be honest, I think we angered a spirit or something that night. My name is Celeste, and this happened when I was 11. To make things easier, I'm mixed. I look a little younger than I was, and I have coily black hair. At the time, I was homeschooled, and I loved biking to the beach. It was around 9:30 in the morning, and I was sitting in my living room. My mom called me on my cell phone. Hello? Hey baby, could you sweep up the living room and dining room? Also, I need to talk to you when I get home. Okay, mommy. I swept up the rooms and waited in the living room for my mom to come home and tell me what it was. She came in the house, told me to sit down. She had then begun to tell me my cat had escaped our house last night and had gotten hit by a car. To clarify, my cat was orange with a bit of a tuxedo pattern. And of course, I started crying. I mean, who wouldn't? My companion just got hit by a car. My mom told me his body was in the backyard, and I had asked to look, but my mom said,
"No, you won't be able to get the image out of your head."
I decided to look anyways. It was gory. One of his eyes was out of its socket, his tongue sticking out. A couple of hours later, when my brother got home, I decided to bike to the beach to get my mind off the things. My bike is a real coral color, a beach cruiser. So I'm biking to the beach, and a homeless man walks by me. "Got any change?" he said. I responded, "Sorry, my mom told me not to talk to strangers." Which she did tell me. He seemed a little pissed off at my answer. I didn't care. I just wanted to swim my thoughts away. So I spent around 2 to 3 hours at the beach, just swimming and making friends. I decided to bike back home as it was getting dark and I was starting to get hungry. As I'm biking home, I get the feeling someone was watching me, but I ignored it because I was already shaken up by the recent events and I did not need that for myself right now. So I bike home, get changed, take a shower, eat dinner, and I go to bed. I wake up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water. I get pretty thirsty at night, so I'm walking to the kitchen, and I look through the window. I see someone, a human, rushing through my backyard, rummaging through some things. My 11-year-old mind thought that maybe it was just an animal, so I get my water and I head back to sleep. The next morning, we were going to bury my cat. So I go outside to make sure that the shovel is in the backyard, and I go to check on my cat's body, and it's gone. I am freaked out, panicked. Where is my cat? How did it disappear? I go into my dad's office and tell him, "Dad, did you guys bury Jon Snow yet?"
No? Why?
Jon Snow isn't in the box anymore.
You looked?
Well, yeah, I was just looking for the shovel. My dad looked into the backyard and saw that the body wasn't there anymore either. He said,
Maybe a hawk came and took the body for food.
So now this has me thinking, was it an animal? Or did someone really eat roadkill? Hello, my name is Alex, and this happened to me when I was 12 years old. I live in Latvia, in a very populated area. It's full of people. I called my friend. We decided to meet up at a local park. It was very late, like 1 a.m. We get to the park. We walked all around this park, and nobody was in this park. It's not usual since I live right in the center of the city. It's very populated, but I didn't think anything of it since it was 1 a.m. We were just walking around, and my friend brought a speaker. And, well, we were bored. Since we were kids, we wanted to mess around, and he played this funny sound effect in the park. We laughed, had a good time, and we walked for a few meters. Suddenly, we saw this group of people standing in a weird position. I told my friend, looks like a group of drunk homeless men. We didn't see anything from them because it was so dark, so we went a bit closer out of curiosity. We see these people. They're bald, bomber jacket, big black boots. They reminded me of skinheads. Skinheads are usually racists, and I was super scared because, well, I'm black. I told my friend, "Bro, let's get out of here." He said, "Why?" I kept saying, "No time to explain, we have to go now." He kept saying, "Why?" But while I was saying to get out, I heard this deep voice shouting, "Hey kid, come over here!" I was shocked. I froze. I didn't say anything. And they shouted again, "I said come over here now!" I was scared. I didn't say anything. I looked at my friend and he was terrified. When I looked back at them, they were running in our direction. I screamed at my friend, "Run!" And we were terrified, running away as fast as we could. We sprinted out of the park. We didn't see anyone in the streets, but we saw a cafe. It was a public place, so I thought there will be people there, so we ran there. Before we ran into the cafe, I look behind me and I see that they're still chasing us with this evil smile cracked across their face. So we run into this cafe and nobody is there. We were bewildered. We wanted to find a bathroom where we could just lock ourselves in, call the police while we were locked in there. But we couldn't find the bathroom. We didn't know what to do. We looked behind us and I saw that they entered the cafe. We were at the corner of the wall and we had no other way to escape. We stood there. They ran up to us. One of them grabbed me and another one grabbed my friend. We're screaming for help, but nobody was in the cafe. The one who grabbed me had bloody hands full of scars and screams in my ear, "Shut up! You will come with us!" He kept screaming this in my ear. They take us out from the cafe and they're pulling us back to the park. I was scared out of my mind. I closed my eyes and just started praying. I heard my friend crying, then suddenly I hear police sirens. These skinheads luckily just let us go and started sprinting away. We were terrified. We ran back home with fear, went to sleep, and the next day my parents returned from their work trip and we told my parents everything that had happened. My mom had the most terrified, estranged look on her face when I described what they looked like. After about 4 hours or something, someone knocked on our door. We opened the door, and it's the police. They said that we were super lucky to escape them because they had chased many other kids in the past. The police said they attack people, kidnap them, torture them. I was shocked, shaking, out of fear at the thought of what could have happened. Have you ever seen the Angel of Death? I believe I did, back when I was 4 years old. I'm 30 years old from the Philippines and not the kind of person who gets scared easily, but I'd like to share a story that bothers me to this day. Honestly, what I saw may have been an illusion, but the people who shared this experience with me are dead. Sadly, that includes my mom and 2 aunts. I'll start the story the way I remembered it. Quezon City, 1997, with strong rain outside. Every weekend, my mom and my aunts, along with their kids, gather together just to spend time with each other. It was like a family tradition they made, because most of my elders are all women. You know how they can be very sociable. If you're from Southeast Asia, you know how families sleep during sleepovers. We sleep together on sleeping mats with our cousins when all the beds in the house that we're visiting are already occupied. Sleeping together crowded inside a room makes the room temperature high. At that time, I didn't think of the cause of the heat yet because, well, I was just a kid, but I woke up in the middle of the night thinking that it was hot. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. Apparently, the government turned off all the power in our city because of the heavy rain. I'm not sure if there was a typhoon at the time, but all I remember is hearing the sound of the rain hitting the roof and the strong wind outside. I cannot see anything, so I tried to feel my mom, but her side of the sleeping mat is empty. It means she's awake. When my eyes were able to adjust to the darkness, I saw my mom, my 2 aunts, and my aunt's husband hiding behind a wall near the stairway. We were at the 3rd floor of my aunt's house, and the stairs is only a meter away from the door of the room where I slept, so from where I was lying, you could see anyone who's going to go up the stairwell. I called my mother, "Ma?" and walked towards my scared aunts. They all looked at me and whispered to stay quiet. If you're a kid and you saw your mom and aunts hiding from something, you would be curious, right? I tried to peek from the wall to see what's scaring them, but my mom pulled me back. She said it was the angel of death. That piqued my curiosity even more. What does it look like? So while they're whispering and discussing what to do, I tried to peek again. This time, my mom was not able to pull me, and I was horrified by what I saw. The staircase of this house, by the way, is U-shaped, and it's in front of this huge glass window. Outside that glass window was a woman, dressed in a black robe with a hoodie. The hood of her robe is down, and I can see her pale, white face, her neck-length hair. She was peeping inside the house from the window, like she's trying to find someone. I know she's floating because there's no way she can look into the 2nd floor window with half of her body showing without any problems, holding a huge scythe on her right hand. My aunt's husband pulled me in again, but it was too late. I already saw the lady they were hiding from. The angel of death is a woman, and it's a good thing she didn't see me. I can no longer remember how that night ended, but I overheard my aunt and my mom talk about it the next morning. They thought I wouldn't understand, but I did. Even though I was only 4 years old. I became so afraid of that stairwell ever since. My aunt and her husband, who was with me at that time, died 9 years after that. When I opened up to my mom and asked her about that event back in 2021, she brushed me off angrily. She died a couple of weeks after due to a heart attack. My other aunt visited me after she learned about my mom's passing, and during our conversation I tried to confirm with her if my childhood story was true, or if it was just my dream. She brushed me off too. She died from diabetes 30 days after my mother. I told my sisters about the story a year after my mom passed, back in 2021, and my eldest sister told me that she made some research about people who had an encounter with the angel of death way before I told her my story. And most of the people who saw her told her the same story. It's a woman with neck-length hair, wearing a black robe with a hoodie, carrying a huge scythe. Up to this day, I never got the confirmation from my mom or anyone that it was a dream, because no one would like to confirm. And everyone that I encountered that angel of death with that night already passed away. This is what happened to me when I was learning magic in college. I found a person on an app who said he could teach me magic. Went to his house. He looked like he hadn't washed for days, but he was dressed up like a magician. As soon as I entered, he showed me a card trick with an excited expression and spread out 7 cards and told me to choose one. I chose one without thinking. He showed me the card. However, it was a card that I had never seen before, and it had pictures on it instead of numbers. When I looked closely, I saw a fist shape drawn on it. Then he suddenly hit my chest hard with his fist. There were metal knuckles in his hands. I groaned in excruciating pain, shouted at him, asking what he was doing. Then he said with a shameless expression,
You chose the fist card, so ta-da! That's why you got a fist. Now choose another card.
From that moment, a terrible fear began to envelop my body. I shouted at him to stop. Then he spread out the cards in front of me and said,
Card magic. You have to pick one to finish.
I finally picked a card and he showed it to me with a smile. The card had a bone drawn on it. He smiled and said,
Oh, you picked a good one.
I was dumbfounded. Then he went back and suddenly came with a sledgehammer. He swung this hammer at me. I quickly moved my body to avoid it and saw the hammer hit the wall with a bang. There was a huge noise. Dust rose. It felt like the house was shaking. He said,
You picked the bone card. I'm going to break your bones.
I trembled with terrible fear. This man was a psychopath. This was not magic. I tried to run away, but he kept chasing me, swinging this hammer, and I screamed at him to stop. Then he says,
Do you want another trick? Then would you like to choose another card?
Then he handed me the card again. I screamed like crazy. He yelled at me to shut up. I kept screaming, hoping somebody would hear me, but no one came. Eventually, my legs gave out and I collapsed on the floor, and he came up to me and said,
Why? It's just magic. Okay, I'll teach you magic after this card trick. Oh, and I'll show you something fun. Wait a minute.
He picked up his phone and shows me this video. I couldn't breathe. In the video, there was a man bleeding, terrible pain. This crazy magician was tying up the man's body and pulling his legs like crazy, shouting that he was going to show him a magic trick that would double his height. The man was screaming like mad. Then the magician picked up the hammer and hit the man's knee. I couldn't watch the video anymore. It was so horrible. Then the magician started laughing, having fun.
What do you think? The guy's legs really doubled up in the end. Do you want to see the result? Hurry up, watch this video.
He kept shoving his phone at me, telling me to watch the video. I ran away. Then I heard a police car siren in the distance. The magician's face turned pale as he quickly went outside and got in his car and ran away. The police arrived a little while later and chased after the magician and arrested him. He confessed to having killed 3 people, assaulted dozens of others. I haven't been able to leave my house for a while since that incident. One summer, I don't remember exactly when, I remember playing at my cousin's house, which was in the same subdivision as mine. It was just the 4 of us, me, my cousin, and her 2 friends. I was the youngest. The house had 2 floors, so we liked to play hide and seek. Then we'd switch to watching cartoons until we got hungry, and then went downstairs to check if there was food. Well, there was no food available in the house, so we decided to buy Halo Halo, a famous dessert here in the Philippines, outside the subdivision instead. My cousin's house was a bit far away from the store, so we took a lot of time walking there. We bought one each, and then we decided to go home. Then my cousin thought that we should do something stupid. There was this big house with a big blue gate and a doorbell near the store. She said that we should do a ding-dong ditch, and the rest of us thought that it was funny, so we did. The side of the house had a small passage, so I went in there to hide while the 3 older kids did the ding-dong ditching. They rang the doorbell twice, and no one answered. On their 3rd try, a big, fat, bald guy appeared. He was shirtless with glasses and black shorts. He had a big tummy and white skin. Most importantly, he was holding a gun. The man looked like a foreigner, but he shouted,
Why do you keep pressing it without stopping?
Then he raised his hand and started firing. My cousin and her friends ran, but I was still there, so shocked I couldn't move. After a few seconds, I realized that I had to run too, or else I was going to very likely die there. I ran and I ran, but the other 3 were already very far away from me. I tried running even faster, even though I was scared and crying, could barely see. I wiped my tears, looked back for a second, and saw that he was pointing his gun at me. He fired. Fortunately, I tripped at that moment, and the bullet missed me. Then I stood up and ran even faster. When I reached the front of my house, I sat down and cried my eyes out. That's when my cousin found me, grabbed my hand, and we started running again. The bald guy still chased us all the way up until about the time we reached my cousin's house. When we arrived, her friends were already there. We locked the doors, closed the curtains, and hid. We saw the bald guy looking for us through gaps in the curtains. When he didn't see us, fortunately, he went away. I don't know if my cousin and the other two still remember this, but I still remember it, and I told my mom once. I often think about just how close I came to dying that day. I don't remember much about the incident, but I will try to explain it the best way I can. My name is Christopher. I was in middle school, and if I remember correctly, it was 2022, 2 months before summer break. My middle school had 2 stories and 1 elevator. Even though it was for staff only, some students got permission to use it. Most of my classmates in the school just liked to cause trouble, starting fights, vandalizing the restrooms for social media clout, picking on the other students. I wasn't one of those students. I was caring, kind, still am to this day, but that's not why I'm writing this. The day of the incident, I was sitting in my second period math class. It was one of those average days, just listening to boring math info and solving equations. I didn't care much about it. Suddenly, the intercom speaker came on. I figured it was some kind of administrative announcement, but that's not what it was. The woman from the office using the speaker sounded nervous. She said a teenage boy had entered the building with a gun. I was shocked, terrified to hear that. Looking around, I could see that my classmates felt the same way. The teacher told us to get in the corner while she locked the doors, shut the blinds, and turned off the lights. We were already quiet when she sat down next to us to wait out the lockdown. At this point, I knew it wasn't a drill. A few minutes passed and there was still no noise. However, it wasn't for long. This part had me shivering. I still feel it to this day. The silence was broken by the sounds of gunshots. I couldn't tell how many there were, probably 3 or 4 shots. They sounded far from our classroom, but soon we heard footsteps coming from the hallway. Some of the students started to cry, prayed for the shooter to just go away. The footsteps were getting closer, closer. Whoever was out there, they were almost at our classroom, but the footsteps stopped. For a moment, the other students were silent again. Then we heard, "Where are you?" I was so terrified at this point I thought I might pass out. The others were scared and crying as well, but then something unexpected happened. The shooter ran from the hallway, back to where he came from. Another few minutes passed and we heard the intercoms come on again. The office lady that was on before said the boy ran out of the school because he saw police cars coming. Needless to say, we were all immensely relieved. Later that day, we learned that the shooter was a male high school student. He was apparently very, very upset about something, but I don't remember what. When he came to the school with the gun, he went up to the 2nd floor to the learning commons. He shot 4 times up into the air to get everyone out. The police said that they found and arrested him. He was ultimately sentenced, so we have the solace of knowing that at least he's off the streets. Hi, I'm Paru. I'm Indian, and this story happened to me when I was 14. Now I'm 24. I'm writing this from Kerala, South India. I've told this story to my family and friends, but no one believed me, so I'm sharing it with you. I never believed in paranormal activities and all of that stuff, well, until this happened. After my 8th grade final exams, I decided to go to my aunt's house for a vacation. It was a farmhouse. My uncle is a farmer, raised a ton of goats, cows, chickens, dogs, and cats. My aunt lives in this big house. It had 4 bedrooms. I chose the big old room that belonged to my uncle's father. He'd passed away about 4 years ago. It was one of the best rooms and had an attached room. One night while I was sleeping, I just wanted to go to the bathroom to pee. And there was a bathroom window. When I looked out that window, I saw what looked like a goat's head. I thought I saw something wrong, just ignored it and went back to bed. But I felt anxious, couldn't sleep well. I don't know why. I just looked at that bathroom for no reason. Then there was a shadow. I thought it was just my imagination and I tried to go to sleep. Fortunately, I did. And the next day, when I tried to sleep, I felt even more scared. Then when I went to sleep, I couldn't move because of sleep paralysis. And in that sleep paralysis, I saw a figure. Couldn't tell who it was, but I could tell that its eyes were red. The figure watched me for a few minutes, touched my nose, When it touched it, it hurt so much. I cried, tried to wake up from my sleep paralysis. And when I finally did, the figure disappeared. I don't remember what happened next. When I woke up the next morning, I thought it was a nightmare. Didn't pay much attention to it. When I went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, and looked in the mirror, I freaked out because I saw a wound on my nose. I remembered that figure had touched my nose the night before. When I touched the wound, it hurt so bad, I ran to my aunt. I told her, and she laughed at me, made fun of me. Well, that night I slept in my aunt's room. And the next day I called my mom, and she took me home. I told my mom about the incident, and of course she didn't believe me. I told my dad, my brother, my classmates. They all think I'm lying. Well, was it really my imagination? And why do I have this scar on my nose? I really don't know. But what I do know is I'm sure I'm not lying. Hi, my name's Luke, and this is a story about what happened to me and my friends on a camping trip 3 years ago, when we were all between about 14 and 15. Since it was the beginning of summer vacation, my friend Lucy had this idea to go camping with her other friends, Katie and Maurice. As I was quite the risk taker, I added to the idea, saying that we should start our trip in the woods at 1 a.m., just for a bit of fun. I told Lucy, what's the worst that could happen? Now I look back and think how bad it could have been. But Maurice and Katie organized the supplies, 2 small tents, some snacks, and other camping equipment from my garage, while Lucy and I went out into the forest early to try to find a spot to set up. We'd been walking for a while when I suddenly heard this rustle in the bushes. I looked over at Lucy with a confused glare. "What was that?" Lucy asked me. I obviously had no clue, but being the cool guy that I thought I was, I peeked over the bush slowly. What I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. I immediately shouted in horror, trying to cover my mouth while staring at what looked like a middle-aged man eating a dead deer. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but this man was no hunter. This deer corpse was basically rotting, as you could see its ribs sticking out, and he was gnawing at it like a dog. It was a gruesome sight. Suddenly, this man turns around, saw me and Lucy, and immediately ran away on all 4s, leaving this deer carcass on the ground. Lucy immediately grabs me. We both run right back to meet Katie and Maurice, who were about halfway down our street with the camping supplies. Katie asked why we looked so shocked, but it took us a few minutes to be able to actually get the words out. The sight had been so blood-curdling. For some reason, Katie and Maurice didn't believe us. They still wanted to go camping, so, stupidly, we returned to the woods. We went at least to a different spot. Maurice and I began to set up this camp in this big, flat area with a lot of trees surrounding it. It seemed cool, isolated, as the trees blocked all the sunlight. Being teenagers, we thought it'd be fun. Everything was going well, actually. We each drank a couple of beers, even though we weren't allowed. Maurice had stolen them from his dad, so we were all absolutely wasted. After a while, we decided to head into our tents. Of course, I slept in the tent with my friend Maurice, and the 2 girls slept in the tent across from us. At around 3:15 a.m., I think, I awoke to this strange noise. I was about to awake Maurice when I suddenly remembered that creepy man from earlier. I felt this chill shoot down my spine as I slowly unzipped the tent just enough to look through, but not enough for whoever was out there to notice. To my horror, I see this deer-eating man standing right outside my tent. To make matters worse, he was holding this small pocket knife. I unzipped the flap all the way, shouted loudly, and immediately punched him as hard as I could. Unfortunately, I was still wasted, and he managed to get a hold of me. He made this shallow cut right across my arm with that knife, but before he could do any more, fortunately, Maurice appeared and kicked him right in the crotch. The strange man let go of me, and I punched him multiple times until I knocked him out. Katie and Lucy tried to call the police, but there was no signal out where we were, of course. We grabbed our bags, leaving the tents and everything else behind, and just sprinted back to town. That night's mostly a blur at this point, but those are all the main points. Let's just say that if it wasn't for Maurice waking up right at that moment, me deciding to scream, you wouldn't be hearing this story right now.